So you walk into the office on a normal day. Let's say it's a typical Monday morning, except it's on Thursday, but it feels like a Monday. Why? Because when you walk in, you notice that an individual is late, someone's early. The customers are, actually in the office. They're banging on the doors. They're kind of screaming at everybody. You look at the status boards, everything's late, things aren't due, the procurement isn't there, the items didn't come in. It's just a typical chaotic Monday, except it's on Thursday. And what I have to ask is, does it have to be like that? You know what? We're going to get into that here in just a moment. In the meantime, what I'd like to do is to welcome you back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. Hey, let's get back to that scenario. For some people, they just like literally live each day as if it's Monday. And, they claim to like it. I don't know why. To me, it just seems to cause a lot of unnecessary stress. Now, for the record, I do not mind working in a chaotic, fast paced environment. I have like no issues at that at all. However, what I do not like is when it's unnecessary chaos or it is self created. And there is a difference between the two. Now, I'm not going to get into the semantics of that. You know exactly what I am talking about. Now, your job as the project manager, as the leader of the group, is to bring calmness out of chaos, to bring order out of disorder, to clean the mess. So initially, you are going to have to put band-aids on. You are going to have to get into the firefighting mode. That is a part of your job, is to resolve the issue of the day. But then what you need to do is to kind of come back. And some people might call it debrief, lessons learned, review processes, whatever terminology we want to use today. And ask the team, how is this actually working for you? Does anybody actually like coming into the office, into those environments? Now, some people actually do. You'll have to deal with them on a different level. But for those who don't, on that side, part of your job as the leader is to bring in strong priorities, clear priorities. What are the biggest issues of the day, of the week, of the time period? What are your biggest bangs for the bucks? And make sure everybody understands what the priorities are. Now, you might have to break it down into several, layers. You can have organizational priorities. That's a true statement. And then you might have individual priorities. Now, if you're good, you will make sure that those individual priorities tie back into the organizational priorities. Okay, just to be clear about that. So part of your job is to make sure that everybody is clear on the priorities and what needs to be done, what should be done, what could be done, what will not be done at this time or yet. The second thing that you may want to consider is building repeatable processes. And what I mean by repeatable processes, if you think about it for a moment, normally the same things come up normally, on that side. It might manifest itself in a different ways, and you have to kind of deal with those issues and or concerns. That's a true statement. But what you can do is to build processes around those things that do. So, for example, the phone rings and it's a customer. You know that the customer is going to call. So, what is the process for actually dealing with it? Now, notice I started off really, really small. And sometimes you do need to start off with the smallest pieces first. Why? Because it actually gets a good solid win. There was a famous basketball coach. His name escapes me right off, but it was back in the day. And as he built the triangle and so forth. In the show notes, I can make the correct attributions. But one of the things that he actually taught his team when it was a college team was that how to tie the shoelace, not how to dribble, but how to tie the shoelace. Why? Because he was starting literally from the bottom up. Because what he kind of figured, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, is that if you can get the small things right, the larger things will come into place and it becomes a habit. So what we want to do is to create processes to release so that people know what to do when something actually happens. And everybody is of the same accord. Third thing that you as a leader need to do is establish accountability. I'm a strong believer in having accountabilities. All job descriptions, all roles should be having areas of accountability. In other words, what does that person actually own? And I mean that for everybody in the organization on that side. They should have their little sandbox that they are responsible for. Good, bad, indifferent. So be sure to establish accountabilities. And the flip side of establishing accountability is enforcing those accountabilities, holding them to task. Now, if it's something out of their control, is it really out of their control? Maybe want to check on that. But put it back into their control so that they can actually do something about it. And then finally, do those lessons learned. Again, I call them, you can call them whatever you like. I happen to call them lessons learned. You can call them AARs, you can call them back briefs, debriefs, review processes, whatever good solid terminology that you want to use in your organization. But what I would suggest is that you take a time out, pause, and just kind of reflect over the past few minutes, past few days, past whatever the appropriate time period, and just kind of ask, hey, is this actually working well for you? So I would suggest, a little bit more of a formal process, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But honestly, if you just kind of ask, is this working for you, and what can we do about it? You will get dividends off of just doing that very, very simple, straightforward process right then and there. Okay, well, I hope this helped out my PMO directors, my leaders, to do in a chaotic environment. Again, I have no issues with operating in chaos and things of that nature. That's for one thing. That's why we have jobs. So that's always a good thing. Reason for living and all those. But the key is to make sure that they are not self-created, that they are not self-manifested. Due to lack of planning, for lack of prior preparation, all those other buzzwords that we like to use, but in fact that they are real. If you like this episode, please hit the like, share, subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. It helps out the algorithm so that we can be of greater service back to you. And in the meantime, may all of your projects be successful.